guys, it's Wengie here. Today I wanted to do a video that's all about going pastel or blonde when you originally have Asian hair or really dark brunette hair. I've been through a lot with my hair. As you can see, I've pretty much tried a lot of different pastel colors. I've bleached it multiple times and I've put my hair through so many different experiments and different colors that I thought I'd make a video to share with you guys everything I learned so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. And if you're deciding to change your hair color to a pastel color or a really light blonde, I want you guys armed with all the information that I can share with you guys from what I learned so that you can make the right decisions and I guess have the right expectations going into the process, because it is a fairly big commitment and it has a lot of maintenance. I think there's a lot of things you need to know before you actually go light or dye your hair pastel, because if you make any mistakes, it will take a long time to grow out your hair. So in today's video, I want to cover quite a few things, so please bear with me. It's going to be a long, detailed video. I'm just going to go straight into it. So I want to start off with what you can expect when you get your hair lightened. The realistic expectations are your hair is going to be completely damaged, especially if you're going from a really dark or black color, especially having Asian hair. Your hair is going to go through so many changes and it needs to break down so much pigmentation to get to the level of blonde. Hi Mickey. If you have thick Asian hair especially, it's going to be a lot tougher to get to the light color. So once you're actually blonde, your hair is incredibly damaged. You'll need to go for extra trims, and if you want to do anything else to your hair like perming it, etc., you're going to have to expect to grow it out. So if you imagine you're having pastel hair that is incredibly shiny and silky and beautiful and long, it's going to be a pretty hard expectation to meet, and you'll find that a lot of hairdressers will ask you to chop your hair off when you go light because you know the ends will be damaged, so you might not have the length that you wanted to. I mean, you could keep your length, but it would be quite brittle and it will break and you'll have split ends. Especially if you want to go anything like a pastel or a really bright primary color that is really vibrant, expect to get your hair down to a really light yellow to get to that color. Otherwise you're gonna have a murky color that isn't the same vibrant color that you're expecting. Another reality is that your roots will start to come out fairly quickly and you'll have to do your roots quite often. Unfortunately, hair grows and there's nothing you can do about it. So expect to have a maintenance schedule of anywhere between 2 weeks to a month for, you know, doing your roots or redoing them. Unless you want to walk around with black roots, it's up to you. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, if you're going for a pastel or primary color that is a temporary color, expect this color to fade into all sorts of weird colors in between. It won't stay the same color as you wash it because it'll start to fade out, and then the yellow will show through and it will go all sorts of interesting colors. I mean, you can embrace that process, but I just want to let you know that that's what happens as well. When you see those pictures on Instagram of perfectly pastel hair, I'm sure it's either a hairspray, a chalk, or the color is just done, but that color does not stay with you for the whole entire time. That's just the reality of pastel hair and colored hair that I want you guys to know. Alright, so now that you've committed to crazy hairdressing maintenance chop ups, weird colors in between your colorings, and also a lot of damage and possibly a cut that you lose some length in your hair, and you really accept all these, then maybe pastel hair and blonde hair is for you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is whether to do it yourself or to get a hairdresser to do it for you. One of the really important considerations for this is your budget, your skills, and what you're willing to tolerate in terms of things going wrong. Going to a hairdresser is incredibly expensive, and because of the maintenance schedule, you can expect to pay a lot of money to redo your roots and redo your hair. The great thing about using a hairdresser is you'll get the right color the first time. They will look after your hair and make sure they don't overdo your hair. They even give you a realistic schedule to get light. For example, I go to Stevie English in Bondi and they do a lot of lightening on Asian hair as well, and they're very good at color. And they gave me a realistic timeline as to how to get to my pastel hair, and we went through some caramel foils to begin with, then we went a little bit lighter, and then we kind of inched our way into the pastel and blonde colors, only because you know, you don't want to shock your hair into just a light color. It might actually do more damage because the hair doesn't have time to recover. So going to a hairdresser really gives you an ability to have that expertise, and that's what you're paying for, and to get your hair done right the first time and done right every single time basically. And they can also do really great colors. Like I've got an ombre pink to purple here, and they do some really great things if you choose the right hairdresser. Again, if you go down the hairdresser route, you have to choose the right hairdresser. Before I decided on Stevie English, I did a lot of research. Make sure that the hairdresser has worked with the type of hair that you have, because you don't want to be their experiment the first time they do it. Ask them for examples of past clients. What I did was I looked at their Instagram and saw that they did a lot of different vibrant colors, so I knew that this hairdresser was for me. Hairdressers will have different specialties. A lot of them do a lot of natural colors because there's not a lot of people that want to come in and go, I want pink hair. So you need to make sure when you're going to a pastel color or a vibrant color that you pick a hairdresser that loves to do this kind of color, that's confident doing this color and does this color a lot. And that's something you should have a look at before you choose the hairdresser. If you want to do it yourself at home and so you can't afford a hairdresser, you actually need a second pair of hands. So make sure you have someone you have access to that could help you do your roots all the time, because once you get to the back of your hair, like here especially, it's really hard to do it yourself and to do it properly because you can't see, and that person that will be helping you will need the skills to be able to apply the color evenly as well. The other thing about doing it yourself is things going wrong with your hair, because obviously you've never done it before. You don't know how long it takes your hair to lighten, or you know, it might get patchy because, you know, hairdressers do it strand by strand, foil by foil, and you may not have the time, or you can't reach the back, or the person helping you wouldn't know what to do. You gotta make sure that you're realistic, and things will go wrong, it'll go patchy. You might not get the right color the first time and have to redo it, so you'll have to spend a week with orange hair. Those are the kind of things you need to keep in mind when you want to do it yourself. You'll save a lot of money doing it yourself, but those things just come along with it, unless of course you're a professional hairdresser and you've done this a lot. I've done it myself multiple times, and every time it has been disasters that I've just had to live with, and there's nothing you can do about it. I've been in periods when my hair was blonde. Sometimes you think you'll only take one time to get to the color you want, and it doesn't. You end up with a lot darker color, like an orange, and then you have to do it again and buy more dye. And sometimes by the time you buy 4 boxes of dye, you spend quite a lot of money. That's like $80. So it really depends on, you know, how much money you want to save and whether that's worth it or not. If you want to do it yourself, there's quite a lot of professional formulations that you can use. You need to be able to buy your products mainly from either a professional beauty supply store. You don't want to buy that box bleach in the supermarket, because I feel like 1, it's quite expensive. 2, they don't give you a lot of products, so if you have a lot of hair or long hair, it's gonna be very expensive anyways. You might as well just go to the hairdresser. And 3, being able to mix it yourself in your own custom quantities, it's gonna make it cheaper in the long run. Your touch-ups will be cheaper because you'll just have the product on hand. So 2 things you'll need to get if you want to do it at home is a powder bleach and a developer. And the powder bleach is pretty much just it looks like laundry detergent. It's like just a powder. They come in tubs. You can get them in white or blue. The blue just gives you a little bit of toning benefits. So I just get the blue anyways, because usually they cost the same. And the next thing you want to get is a developer, which is I think a kind of peroxide, and it basically reacts with the powder bleach and then it lightens your hair. With the developer, it's really important to know what developer is right for your hair, because they have different concentrations. So they have 10 vol to 50 vol, and I don't know, like they might have 60 vol, but I would not go there. A safe alternative is really to go between the 30 vol and the 40 vol. 50 vol would work, but it's getting really strong. You kind of need to know what to do with it, and and it might actually damage your hair quite a bit with the 50 vol. With the 30 vol, depending on the type of hair you have, if you have thick Asian hair, you might need to do it 2 or 3 times to get to the color, but it'll be a gentler way to do your hair. With the 20 vol and under, I wouldn't recommend it because it won't actually lighten your hair that much, especially when you have dark hair or brunette hair. Again, I'm not a professional hairdresser, so I can't tell you exactly what formulation is right for you. I personally got the 40 vol because I needed a little bit more kick and my hair is a little bit thicker, but that's what I chose. But for you, I would do some research online, or maybe ask a hairdresser that you know, or just experiment with the different ones and see which one you prefer. They come in huge bottles, like a bottle like this, and it's more cost effective when you buy a big bottle like this. There's a few things you want to consider before dyeing your hair. One of the things you need to consider is what state your hair is before you start dyeing it, and I think that's really important because there's like certain things that could make that bleaching process a lot harder, which I had to go through. One of them is if you've previously bleached your hair with a permanent hair color like a brown or even a blonde, but any sort of permanent hair color on your hair, it actually creates this like kind of layer over your hair, which makes it really hard to break through, and you'll find that parts of your hair that have had permanent dye on it before will be a lot tougher to get light. And there was parts of my hair where that happened to, like my roots would be blonde and really light really quickly, but the parts of my hair where I dyed it previously before, especially if you dye multiple layers, like if you buy those permanent box products and you like try different colors, you probably have like multiple layers of permanent hair dye, and until they strip it off it's still there, and then it'll make it hard for the bleach to get through. So that's where the patchiness will come from. If you'll have other hair dyes on your hair, it will be patchy. If part of your hair existing has already been dyed, that will be patchy. Virgin hair is much easier to dye, and virgin hair is basically hair that hasn't been dyed. It's very easy to know what result you're going to get from virgin hair, but it's really hard to know what result you're going to get from dyed hair. So if you're going to do it at home, you're just going to have to experiment. That's one thing you should ask your hairdresser as well. They should actually know that. They should be looking at your hair. When you go to a hairdressing consultation, I highly suggest you to get them to look at your hair and give you a bit of guidance as to what they'll do, and from that answer you'll pretty much be able to tell whether they're the right hairdresser for you, because one of the things that they would look for if they're really knowing their color and their bleaching process is just ask you or even see whether you've dyed your hair permanently before or whether it's virgin hair, and they'll give you a realistic expectation as to how long it will take and what kind of things that will go through. So once you're starting to bleach your hair, Asian hair goes through a process, even Caucasian hair goes through this process, but basically your hair will go from black to brown to red to orange to yellow, and then finally to a yellow white. I'll pop a picture up for you guys to see the exact shades that it will go through. If you want to get to the pale yellow, if you want to do anything like silver hair or pastel hair, a yellow may be okay for like a vibrant color like a primary red or a primary blue or a primary purple. Anything above the yellow, I would actually expect to have a little bit of distortion from the pure color that you want. So that's just something you need to keep in mind if you're doing your hair yourself. In terms of what happens to your hair when it actually gets bleached, it pretty much breaks down the layer of hair to go into the center, and then they'll bleach the pigments out of the center of the hair, if that makes sense. It'll be very porous, it'll have lots of holes in it, it'll be very brittle, it'll break, it'll lose a lot of its elasticity. So you know when you have healthy hair and you kind of pull it out and it'll like kind of bounce and have that kind of thing. Bleached porous hair will just break. So that's something you can expect when you're brushing your hair and things with bleached hair. It will break easier, so you got to be a little bit more careful with it. Treatments basically just cover all the porous parts of your hair so it looks silky smooth, but the actual hair itself is damaged and there's nothing you can do about it after you've bleached it. You've just pretty much just changed the texture of your hair. In terms of mixing your products by yourself, if you're going to do it at home, I'm not going to go through this in this video. Just follow the instructions and also talk to the person that you buy it from for some guidance, because every product is different. I don't really need to talk about that, but just make sure you have the right equipment, which is the brush, a little tub to mix it in, hair cap, something to cover your clothes because your clothes will get bleached as well. When you're bleaching your hair and you're doing it yourself, make sure that the product doesn't dry out. When it dries out, it doesn't really work anymore. So if you're at the hairdressers or you're doing your hair dye, a lot of them will put like Glad wrap over your hair, or you can use a shower cap as well, but keep it covered and keep it moist. And if you feel like it's dry, just reapply some more product onto it. Temperatures that is warmer will help it develop faster, so you'll find your roots will go light straight away, and if you put it all evenly at the same time, your roots will be like a light yellow, whereas this part of your hair might still be like a brown or a dark blonde. So keep that in mind. Like when you do your roots. It'll take less time than if you did the bottom of your hair. And also you want to apply your roots last because of the heat. If you want it to work a bit faster, just put on the shower cap or the glide wrap and put a hairdryer or some sort of warming thing around, and that warmth would really help the product develop on your hair and get it lighter as quickly as possible. Alright, so after you've got bleached hair, there's a few things you need to consider when applying a second product over it. Your hair is now really porous. It pretty much is like a sponge. It will just suck the product that you put on it. This is one thing a lot of people don't know, but keep this in mind when you're wanting to put a second color on top of your bleached hair. You need to pick the color that is 2 shades lighter than the color you really want, because of the fact that your hair is porous and that your hair is going to suck that color in. Your hair is actually going to turn out a lot darker than whatever's on the packet. So you know those like supermarket packet dyes that you get, if it's a brown and you have bleached hair, it's going to be like a dark brown. So always pick 2 shades lighter. I mean, you can always go darker, but if you go too dark, there's really no going back. So keep that in mind when you dye your hair. Always pick lighter shades because your hair is extra porous, and those supermarket dyes are not made for hair that are bleached. It's made for natural hair. So the color that they show you is the color you'll get if you have like virgin hair, but you don't have virgin hair, so you need to adjust the color that you buy in the box. If you want more guidance on this, obviously talk to a hairdresser, or if you go to a professional beauty supply, I'm sure there's someone there that can give you guidance on what color to pick. One thing you need to know about semi-permanent colors is even though the box says it's going to wash out in 24 washes, it won't wash out. You may need to strip the color away from your hair, and even then not all of it will come out. I've made that mistake. I went dark, and I've done that on my channel to show you guys, but that semi-permanent hair color never washed out, and I had to pretty much re-bleach my hair, and it was really damaging. So don't do that. If you want to go dark, I have a video on a 1-day dark hair color that you guys can try. Even with that, it may not take your color all the way dark, because I did that for a friend's wedding and it kind of went this brown lavender color, not really like a pure dark brown. Once you go dark and it's a permanent color, there's kind of no going back. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant in dyeing my hair darker for now, and I'm just gonna enjoy this process because it took me so long to get here. But that's something you need to consider when you have pastel hair as well. Just wear a wig. That's probably easier if you want to go dark for a short period of time. So now I'm going to talk about toner, and toner is a must when you have bleached hair. And trust me, I've been lazy and I've walked around with yellow blonde hair. I mean, you can rock it if you want, but if you want your hair to be, I guess, less yellow, there's silver and lilac. Silver will give you a nice tone to your blonde hair and make it look more natural. Purple toner will make it more grey and silvery, and it may even go lilac if you overtone. So if you look at those white blondes, it's probably a combination of a lilac toner and having a light sort of blonde base. You can get a lot of pastel colors to do at home, like from Manic Panic or Fudge, and there's a lot of brands out there. You can even just keep your hair blonde and chalk it, because the chalk will look very vibrant on blonde hair. If you want pastel hair, you basically mix a primary color with a lot of conditioner. The conditioner will take it down to a pastel tone, so you can do that with any color that you have from Manic Panic, Fudge or whatever, and just mix it with a lot of conditioner, so you'll have more product as well. So just experiment with how that goes. You may want to do a strand test so you know how much conditioner to mix. I have a tutorial on that below as well, which I'll link you guys if you are interested in how to mix pastel hair colors for your hair if your hair is blonde. In terms of products and aftercare, you pretty much have to go for trims if you don't want your hair to break often. So lots of haircuts. It will be harder to grow your hair to like a super long length unless you had like super duper long hair to begin with and only cut a bit of that to do your hair color. In addition, you want to be using a silver shampoo. I'm using the O&M shampoo, which is a really light silver, and you can use the Fudge purple shampoo as well, which is a lot stronger. So for really strong purples like Fudge, expect to get like a purple tinge or a lilac tinge in your hair, because I find it really strong and it will stain your hands and everything like that. So the O&M is a much lighter one, and there's lots of products in the supermarket or Priceline or wherever you want to go. Just look for the purple shampoos and conditioners that will keep your hair toned, and it'll take the yellow out of your hair and it'll keep it nice and natural looking, not so brassy and yellow. In terms of treatments, hair oils are really great because the oil will cover all the porous surface of your hair and smooth it out. You might want to do keratin treatments like NanoMax that I do with CV English, which is a more natural version of a keratin treatment, and that leaves your hair like silky smooth and soft. Also leave-in conditioners and masks. So combination of those will keep your hair looking shiny, and that's the thing, looking shiny. That's pretty much all you can do to your hair after you bleach it. It won't actually be healthy. Those kind of treatments and hair masks and things need to be done on a regular basis. And that's all I'm gonna talk about today. This has been a very long video. I didn't want to make this video that long, but I really wanted to cover everything. I have a blog post that pretty much goes into more detail and has everything that I talked about today. So if you want something to refer to, I highly suggest you check out my blog post. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something from it. Let me know in the comments box below where you are at, if you want to go pastel or blonde, or whether you've done it already. What do you think about it? And what did you learn from the experience? So share what you know as well in the comments box below so you can help everyone. Don't forget to thumb up this video if it was helpful and you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!